we're about to go live, and I'll give it back to you.
Okay.
Just wait. Hey, good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. I'm Carla Bertolini with Kale. Thanks for attending this virtual workshop, which is entitled Transforming Workforce Development Through Personalized Strategic Partnerships. As a reminder, attendees are muted, but please introduce yourselves and meet fellow attendees via the chat function at the virtual hub, which is the webpage you use to virtually access the conference. You can also enter questions for the speakers there during our session, either through the chat or through the Q&A function. And there is an evaluation attached to the session, so if you can, we'd appreciate it if you could fill that out. And with that, I'd like to welcome Scott Dolan, Executive Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences at Excelsior University, to begin the presentation. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Carlo. Appreciate the introduction. Thanks to all of you who have joined us. Look forward to presenting about the work that we're doing here at Excelsior University, and really proud to be joined by my colleague, Dr. Adam Selhorst, who's our Executive Director of our Strategic and Partnerships and Alliances office. And we're here to talk to you about the work that we're doing in collaboration with one another at the intersection between workforce development and innovation in partnerships. And you can go to the next slide. And just a little bit about Excelsior University, headquartered in Albany, New York, established in 1971 as a private non-for-profit institution. We currently have over 35 degree programs at the associate's, bachelor's, and master's level across 6 disciplines and are accredited by Middle States. We see ourselves as a technology-enabled education provider with a strong focus on working adult learners and a mission and commitment to making higher education more accessible, more flexible, and affordable. And we see this mission aligning very, very closely with the needs of the workforce in today's economy. And we're dedicated to helping students who come to us looking to advance in their career and very often to change their career. And to do this, we provide flexible entry points. We have a long history of being a leader in the use of credit for prior learning. And we have high quality technology-enabled academic learning to help students meet their personal and professional goals. We can go to the next slide. At Excelsior, we really take a student first, learner first approach, supporting students from a holistic perspective and take that as the core of what we do. We have professional advising teams that guide students from point of admission through graduation, ensuring that they can navigate the university. They're balancing work, life, and other obligations. And those professional advisors are there to get them through application, financial aid, course planning, and degree progression. As I noted a little bit earlier, our transfer credit evaluation is really industry leading, recognizing past coursework, work experience, military training, professional licensures, certifications. And all of this allows students to earn credit for what they already know, saving both time and money on their progression towards degree completion. In addition, we focus on high quality course design. By default, most of our courses are currently delivered fully online, but as I'll talk about, we're looking to expand our reach, knowing that we want to really leverage the benefits of multiple modalities, but to do that in a way that works for our working adult population. And we'll talk a bit more about that when we talk about this idea of the constellation that we're presenting. And our focus really is on ensuring that we meet current workforce needs. And with deep ties to the military community, we offer specialized support for both active duty, military, and veteran students. It's really about our commitment to helping students meet their goals. The mission for vision for our constellation strategy is to really think about how we can better support providing access to quality higher education and seeking to expand operations to better address societal and workforce needs as a cornerstone of our growth strategy. You can go to the next slide. So what does that mean? We're looking to become and to evolve into a truly comprehensive institution, adding learning at the entry level prior to an associate's degree through micro-credentials and badging and certificates, and looking to add degree programs and learning on the other side, including doctoral programs as we move forward. But this constellation idea is about how we can use partnerships with other universities and colleges, with corporations, employers, non-government organizations to create an experientially rich ecosystem that can work for students and their preferences and support them on a unique and personalized educational journey. So our goal was really to bring a wide array of partnerships together to contribute to different options that student might have. While we have fully online students who are working adults, do they want to take a study abroad program and study in Rome? Do we have virtual internships available? Do we have on-the-ground internships available? We recently launched an executive MBA program focused on low residency immersive experiences combined with technology-enabled asynchronous and synchronous learning. So we're really thinking about the student, what they need today and what they might need in the future, and how we can use multiple modalities to meet those needs, and to do that with flexibility, access, and affordability in mind. So each partner that we bring into this constellation or system, really we're looking to create relationships, ingest resources, and to do that in a way that thoughtfully aligns with the diversity of our student body and the experiences that they come to us, as well as the complex lives that they lead. So what is creating individual learning journeys with different options at Excelsior or at partner institutions, or apprenticeship programs and internship programs that we might offer to our students in partnership through this constellation model. And it's really, for us, building on our history of innovation and commitment to adult learners. We see it really as a natural evolution from where we were in 1971 to where we're going in the future. There are a lot of opportunities for us to work more collaboratively within higher ed, given the challenges that we face, the demographic cliff, the declining number of 18 to 21-year-old students, and the need for us to provide continuous learning throughout the lifetime of our students. We'll talk a bit more about that as we move forward. So you can go to the next slide. So when it comes to the labor market today, I think we're all aware that it's going through pretty incredible and significant shifts, right? We're working more distributed. The impact of AI and other emerging technologies is profound. One of the great books written recently by Michelle Weiss on long life learning, talks a little bit about how we're living longer and how we're working longer. That the traditional retirement model with a pension no longer exists, and workers need to continually reskill to stay relevant. There are technological advancements, economic shifts, and demographic trends that are really changing our society. There was a recent article in Inside Higher Ed talking about the longevity boom. People over the age of 65 are projected to outnumber those under 18 for the first time in U.S. history, right? So we've got an aging population, but that aging population is also living longer and working longer. It's fundamentally disrupting different stages of learn, work, retire, right? Those sorts of things are in flux, not nearly as neat as they once were. And this article in Inside Higher Ed talks about creation of a fourth stage, one focused on continued engagement and lifelong learning. So how do we, as institutions of learning, kind of start to meet these needs within the market? You can go to the next slide. And looking at broader labor market trends, we see three major drivers of job change. This comes from the Future of Jobs report, which, if you haven't read, I think comes out every 2 years. It's worth a read every time. This is globally, but certainly breaks it down regionally and has good insights for us within the U.S. And the impact. But the World Economic Forum sees three major drivers of job change: the climate change and the transition to a green economy, significant technological advancements, and a number of economic and geopolitical fluctuations. And all of those are reshaping the roles and skills that are required for workers. In this report, the World Economic Forum says that 44% of workers' core skills, 44% of workers' core skills are expected to change in the next 5 years. Really highlights the pressing need for all of us looking in the mirror here to update our skills, to continue to stay abreast of the changes around us, so that we can navigate what the jobs look like into the future. There's a real need for lifelong learning and workforce-aligned education. And companies are recognizing this. 81% of the organizations surveyed in the World Economic Forum research say that they're planning to invest in learning and on-the-job training, and 80% are looking to accelerate automation processes. So there's a whole bunch of jobs that are disappearing because of automation, and there's a whole bunch of jobs that are appearing because of the opportunities within the technological realm. And so at Excelsior, we're looking at how do we address this need by designing programs and learning within those programs that help learners develop relevant skills and to thrive in this landscape. You can go to the next slide. And just quickly, what is the role of strategic partnerships? And Adam will go into this in a lot more depth from an Excelsior perspective. But in response to these trends, we're really doubling down on what partnership looks like and trying to be strategic here. According to a recent UPSEA report, the number of employers partnering with external organizations increased by 26% last year. That's great. But what the report also notes is that companies are partnering more and more with organizations outside of higher ed, though they see great value in the partnerships that they do have with higher ed. So I think just within colleges and universities, we need to understand that there are more providers of training and education that employers are seeking out. So we have to think through what our value proposition is and develop models that work for the employers that we're looking to partner with, which I think our SPA team is doing a great job with. So there's a clear sign that companies see value in their educational partnerships and that they can help close gaps and support employee development. But there are also challenges that employers highlight when they talk about the relationships that they have with higher ed institutions. Common challenges that the employers noted when working with higher ed: cost, ensuring that the learning delivered is at the right price point, a lack of real-world application, right? If we're going to partner with employers and do skills-based training, the key is to ensure that this is applicable directly to the work that they will be doing today and into the future. At Excelsior, since we deal primarily with working adults, we certainly approach our courses and learning design with an andragogical perspective, really honoring the skills that our working adults bring into the classroom and ensuring that when they're in the classroom, they see real value and relevance to their work. And I think we fundamentally need to think differently about where the classroom is, not necessarily just in our learning management system, certainly not just within a lecture hall, but what does it look like to integrate learning with work and to value and evaluate and give credit for the experiences that people have in their workplace. Tangible, applied, relevant, context specific. Another challenge highlighted by employers in this research is just cumbersome business processes. So as higher ed, we need to think through our structures and bureaucracy and be able to move quickly and agilely to meet the needs of our employers if we're looking to strategically partner with them. So we're really committed to overcoming these obstacles by providing single points of contact, streamlined processes, and clear and relevant offerings, which I will talk about a little bit further. And we're looking to customize more, right? How do we supplement the training and education that our partners need. And how do we do that? Through needs assessment, prior learning credit, and creating stackable learning models. So I think this just sets a little bit of the context for where we are, what's motivating our thinking around the constellation and the partnerships that we're exploring, and the work that we're doing deeply through the Strategic Partnerships and Alliances Office. And I'll pass it off to Adam to kind of go into a bit more depth about some of the specifics there.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. I'm Adam Selhorst. I'm the Executive Director for Strategic Partnerships at Excelsior. And I'm going to really walk everyone through today our sort of innovative strategic partnership model that's really undergone a pretty significant change over the last year and a half, really to address all the things that Scott just hit on. So the chart you can see on the screen right now is really just a very high level overview of the stages we go through whenever we're looking at new partners and how we manage our partnerships. I'm going to go over each one of these in detail here in a second, but just to run through real briefly, generally we're always reaching out looking for new partners, and identifying those partners can be a pretty lengthy process and an important one to make sure we're finding the right partners. Once we do find those, we're doing needs assessment on these partners to make sure that they're a good fit and that they need something that we can provide. We're evaluating prior learning, and as Scott said, we're one of the sort of industry leaders in that area, so I'll talk in depth about how we do that. We develop customized options for a lot of partners, which is something that is not super common in the higher ed space. We look at the opportunity to build learning pathways for the employees of these partnerships, and then we obviously have to manage these partnerships long term, make adjustments, and ensure that we're staying relevant for the partner. So, starting from the beginning with the identification of new partner, basically where do we find new partners? And it's a little difficult being an online university. We have a scale of the entire United States, so there's sort of an endless supply of potential corporate and academic partners that we're looking at. And our past strategy really was just to go out there and sign as many partners as possible, build this large portfolio of partners. From that, we get students, the partners get a discount, everybody's happy. But as Scott alluded to and talked directly about, there's been a lot of changes in the market, and we've sort of decided we want to have more integrated partnerships where there's a really strong mutual benefit beyond just we give you a discount and you send us students. We want to make sure that we are sort of properly training employees of these partnerships and providing really next level kind of experience for them. So how do we find those partnerships? First thing we do, really, we need to narrow down from the entire United States. And we started really with looking at our own strategic plan and our mission, the programs we're currently offering, the programs we're going to offer, and where are there pockets in the United States where there are employees or potential, cities, states that are going to need these programs and that align with really our future strategic plan and mission. Then we can look at the population growth, the job growth in these areas by sector. Do they align again with the programs we offer, with the programs we're going to offer? And the example I'm going to sort of use throughout this today is one of those pockets we decided was Florida. Florida has a growing population. They also have an aging population, and we are nursing is really, we're nursing heavy. And so the demand for nurses in Florida has skyrocketed, and not just nurses, but healthcare in general. We offer a host of sort of healthcare programs. And so we started looking at Florida. Well, Florida's a big state as well. So then even from there, how do you narrow it down? So again, looking at metrics for things like job growth, population, and then we looked at another metric, which was where is there areas that aren't currently sort of being served by certain higher education institutions. So looking for pockets with low competition, not just from a standpoint of that we don't want to compete necessarily, but our mission is to serve underserved populations, and we were able to locate some areas where there just weren't options for employees in certain areas. And one of those areas was southwestern Florida. around the Fort Myers area. And so we started to look at organizations in that area. And one of those that popped up was Lee Health, which is a large healthcare organization throughout that has multiple hospitals, clinics throughout that area. And they were having a hard time finding employees because it's not the most populated area. And they're basically our only traditional educational options there. So students would have to leave work, go to class, come back to work, and a lot of individuals just can't do that, especially with children after work and families and other commitments. And so we provided something really there for them that they currently really weren't getting. So one example of how we can kind of narrow down a huge, national scale into finding a really strong niche for us. So we're also looking in those areas, not just at corporate, but also academic and military partners. So Scott discussed how we are military friendly as well. So we do have relationships with a number of military installations, and we've really focused heavily on veteran transitional groups. So a lot of those individuals that are getting out of the military and shifting to civilian life, how can we help them, partner with them, make that transition? A lot of them need upskilling, they need more education, and we're able to provide a lot of credit for that military training and really evaluate all the work that they've done previously. On the academic side, so when we go into a community too, we look to partner with the community colleges. You may think that that may be sort of a conflict as more community colleges are adding bachelor's degrees, and they all obviously have associate's degrees, as do we. But we found that in a lot of cases, it has really been a good partnership to partner with community colleges, and we've established a dual enrollment program that community colleges are really, really interested in. So that allows students to stay at the community college for an additional 15 credits after their associate's degree, an additional 30 credits after their associate's degree, but they can take the final 30 credits with us and they can take them at the same time. So it really lowers the cost for the student. It lowers the time to completion for the student. It's also a benefit for the community college because they keep the student for a little longer, and then it's a benefit to us because we're getting highly qualified students that have shown an ability to persist and really a grit. So that's been very successful. And then from the corporate standpoint, like I mentioned, Lee Health was a big one, but there are other corporations in the area. We generally look at the largest employers in the region as a good place to start, focusing on sectors that align with our strategic plan. So again, strong healthcare. So we look at a lot of healthcare institutions. Scott has oversight of the business programs and the tech programs. Those are obviously tech and computer science are very, very popular right now. So are there industries in the area that are looking for those types of skills as well? And then the other thing we're really trying to do is we're trying to become a part of these communities. So once we've selected an area and we said we're going to go in there, we're trying to host events, we're trying to attend events. That's allowing us to kind of understand the needs of the community and really tailor our offerings and things to support them. And alumni resources are another big one for us. So we have a lot of alumni over the past 50 years, and there are pockets where we have a lot of alumni, and we can really use those networks to help serve our students and our partners. After we've found a new partner and we've decided, okay, this seems to be a good fit, we conduct a pretty intensive partner needs assessment. So we want to make sure, again, that this is a very mutually beneficial relationship where we're providing more than just a discount, and that they're really need us, and that they're sort of providing us as well. So after engaging a new partner, we tend to work with them on make sure that it aligns with their short and long-term needs. So in the course of Lee Health, we actually, we flew down there twice. We met with them dozens of times virtually. talked about their current and their historical openings. They had over 500 openings for nurses, so it was clear that they had a need, that they needed help, filling. We looked at our strategic plan and future goals. We're planning on expanding nursing, so it was a really strong fit. And then we discussed how our current programs can meet those goals and upskill their workforce, and then talked a little bit about what other needs they might have additionally. From there, we look at evaluating the prior credit, the prior learning, and even credit for things like employer training. So they walked us through sort of, here's what an employee goes through. Here's the job descriptions. Here's the types of courses they have to take, and we see where we can provide credit for those employees. Again, it's kind of a competency-based, mentality, when it's like if somebody's been doing the job and they understand the competencies and we can provide credit for that, we will. We don't think somebody should have to necessarily go and just go through the motions of taking a course in something that they're already very adept at through their job, right? So provide evaluations for employees and families of employees to determine if there is credit there for prior learning. Work with the employer to evaluate their corporate trainings, their job expectations, and seeing where we can really limit the number of credits that need to be taken. Another good example of that, we partnered with AICPA, which is the American Institute for Certified Public Accountants. And as students, as part of their registered apprenticeship program, will actually go through and we will grant 15 credits for students that have gone through that apprenticeship program. And so those credits can be directly transferred in to our associate's degree in applied arts and business. And so the student will only need to complete an additional 45 credits with us to get the associate's degree. So this is a good example of a partnership where it's decreasing the time to completion for the student. It's obviously decreasing their cost, and it's sort of a win-win for everyone. The next thing we generally do in a partnership cycle is we look at the potential to develop customized solutions for individual partners. So this is where I mentioned, most educational institutions aren't really open to doing this. It's sort of, here's our educational offerings, here's our associates, bachelor's, master's degrees, tell us which one you want. So one of the things we've really done, and in the case with Lee Health is a good example, sat down with them, said, what do you need? And they would say, well, we're short this many nurses. We're short, this many surgical techs. And in some cases, we'll say, well, we don't offer that program, but we might be able to build it for you. And when we build it for them, we can ask them directly, what kind of things do you want the students to be able to do? Obviously, you have to align with accreditation standards and all of that. But that's Scott's job to make sure that the pedagogy is proper, and that we're building them in ways that will certainly lead to good outcomes for the students. But then also the employer is telling us, these are the gaps we're seeing in students that are coming out. These are the things we're starting to see in the ER that we are thinking maybe education could help us, solve some of these conflicts. And so we're able to work with them to really put together potentially, new certifications, new courses, new corporate trainings for them, and even full degree programs if it makes, sense for both the employer and for us. The other thing we've been working on is pathways for employees. So looking at, say, the hospital system, the different job roles that appear throughout the institution, and how do we get those students to, various goals. Every student has a different goal in mind, but a lot of them are very similar. So taking a medical assistant, for instance, so we can take a medical assistant role and map out a pathway for them to becoming potentially a nurse. and then a charge nurse, and then maybe even a PA, up to a doctor. And we can lay out pathways for that student. Here's the education you're going to need. Here's the fastest way to get there. Here's the cheapest way to get there. And that's something I think that is really valuable for employees, not only from a sense that it, tries to make sure that they're doing that in the most efficient way possible, the cheapest way possible. But also, I think a lot of employees at that level don't even understand that these are opportunities that are available to them, that there is an end goal. There are multiple end goals. Choose which one makes the most sense for you and your family, and we'll help you get there. So that's something that's been something we've put a lot of effort into in the last couple of years, and I think is really supporting the partnerships. And then finally, managing these partnerships over time. So again, if we go out and just sign every partner we possibly can, we end up with this very large portfolio that can be tricky to manage, and you don't hear from us for a long time. But by developing these really personalized relationships, we're meeting regularly with them, some of them weekly, bi-weekly, with these partners, quarterly reviews of their needs. So obviously, especially in places like healthcare, there may be 400 openings for a position this year, and next year it might be a completely different position in the organization where they're having really struggles. So staying on top of that, so that we're not going too long of a time between having these reviews and determining really what the needs of the partners are, is super important to us. Again, evaluating our academic offerings and making sure they're still relevant. I mean, Scott just mentioned 44% of employees are going to have skills that are completely changing. So if we're not on top of that, I mean, we could be dinosaurs in 2 years, right? So really staying on top of that. And a big part of that is, again, the partnership of the strategic partnership team with the academic team. So I've worked at multiple universities over my career, and I haven't really seen the type of partnership between academics and like our partnership team that we have at Excelsior. And I think it's really important to ensure that we're talking all of the time. We're making sure that we're on top of what's happening in the marketplace, and our partners are a direct line to what is happening. And then again, reviewing their corporate trainings, their credit offerings over time. Those things change, and we may be able to provide more credit for them over time, which can again help decrease the time and cost for students, which is something we're really focused on. We don't want anyone paying any more than they have to. We don't want anyone taking any longer than they have to. At the same time, obviously, we don't want them taking any less than they need to, right? We want students that are graduating to be graduating with the skills needed to do the jobs that they're reaching out for. And so having these personalized relationships, I think, ensures that we're kind of hitting that mark. And it's been over the last year, really fruitful venture, I think, for us and for the employers. So this model, it really seeks to anticipate what's going on in the market in the future and in the near future, allows us to adapt to those shifting workforce demands, and really allows us to fill existing skills gaps and prepare for future changes. So it's something we're very excited about. It's going very well, and something I'm looking forward to working really closely with Scott and our other deans as well, to make sure this sort of continues and continues to succeed into the future. So with that, Scott and I would be happy to answer any questions, and thank you all so much for the time.
Yeah, it looks like we had a comment from Rachel Cooper from Thomas Edison State University. Just it says, it sounds like you are more national focused than regional or local. Is it like you are setting up virtual satellite campuses almost? And with my 20 years of higher ed, 6 years in career services, 3 years in continuing education, 11 now in CPL, it's exciting to see these connections. And I'll just say, I think for us, it's we use the word technology enabled very intentionally. So it's going to be a mix between virtual and regional physical locations, though I think this idea of what a campus needs to be is something that we need to be thinking about. It doesn't always need to look the way we want it to look. Vision forward, what do pop-up experiential labs look like? What do partnerships with other academic institutions look like, so that we can better utilize their space during times when it's not being utilized, and we can take advantage of the physical facilities that would be beneficial to our students. So in our engineering technology programs, we have ABET accredited programs. They're fully online. We're extremely confident in terms of what we're able to do through simulation. But is there ways for us to enhance that learning environment through hands-on practical skill and partnership with other campuses that have labs that they could benefit from? And would those lab experiences be more accessible and affordable and flexible if we had those in different parts of the country, such that travel was easier, but they actually get in there and roll up their sleeves in a different way? Or with our executive MBA, let's partner with an institution in St. Petersburg, Florida, Eckerd College, take advantage of their location that focuses on resilience in a VUCA world and the impact of climate change. And they're right there, lived it this last year, but are working with us to provide space for our learners, but also to providing faculty from their continuing ed division to help us enhance the curriculum and coordinating the social component of it. So what do these partnerships look like? The other piece is we don't have programming that our students want and need. So rather than building it ourselves, is there a way to partner with other organizations to offer it? Is there a way to merge or acquire other organizations to offer it, so that we can create these seamless pathways in a way that works for everybody? We have specific skills in online education. A number of institutions are looking to pivot. I know they've often turned to third-party providers. We know the regulatory challenges with that right now. So how do academic institutions support one another to make these pivots and to kind of think about modalities in different ways? And how can we do that collaboratively? So that's all part of this idea of the constellation about how we might work together in different ways within the sector and create a system that is frictionless. One of the things we see from our experience, and we've got a lot of it at Excelsior with Path state systems, is that while they are connected to one another by state and through the system, the interactions and integrations of the work they're doing don't always work to the advantage of students. Will the transfer credit be accepted from the community college to the state public? Are the systems easy and frictionless to allow students to move seamlessly from one to the other? We would argue no, right? So how do we solve for that in a shared services model and create a platform for students, putting them at the center and giving them a variety of options that they could have available to meet their goals? So those are some of the things that we're thinking about. And the other piece I will just say is that we also know workforce development and skills, while they're changing pervasively at a national level, there are specific pockets of what local and regional places within the country need. So we do need to be customized to the needs of the region too, which is why being located and thinking through what each region needs is an important component of our work, and why we think being present physically to build relationships and to talk about co-programming is an important part of our work as we move forward. One last thing I'll say is that with this comes a lot of challenges regulatory around being authorized to operate within states and ensuring you stay in compliance with regulations around NC-SARA and others. I think we as a sector need to advocate for some more openness to innovation and flexibility from our regulators as we're thinking through models like this, because our students need them.
Yeah, I saw another question that popped up. How difficult is it to get on the calendar of these organizations you would like to partner with? Can you recommend any do's and don'ts from Judy and Beckford? And I think a lot of it depends on the type of organization it is, obviously, and the need of the organization. One of the really successful strategies we've had is going through our alumni. So when you've got these really large organizations and we have a significant number of alumni, it's pretty often we can find somebody that graduated from our organization and that is working within these organizations. So sometimes we'll get somebody to make the introduction to for us. That's been very, very successful. Other contacts too, not necessarily alumni, but other contacts that you have with either other partners or just, your general network. Obviously, if somebody makes the introduction, it's a thousand times more likely to go well than just a cold call. Although even reaching out on LinkedIn has been fairly successful. Um, the Lee Health conversation actually started with just a message on LinkedIn to their chief people officer. And to be honest, when we had our first 10-minute conversation, he seemed like, I'm not really interested. There's a billion online universities. So you really need to get that differentiator across in that first 10 minutes. And if you don't, they're like, well, why don't I just go to any number of online universities that are throughout the country and just partner with them. And for us, our differentiator is largely our transfer credit evaluation and how we do it. And that was sort of the hook we had for him to go, okay, well, this actually might be a really good thing. The other thing that they liked was our commitment really to coming in and being a part of the community. So often I think a lot of partners feel like, especially when you're a national organization, oh, are we just going to be a number? We're, especially when it's a healthcare institution, right? They're ingrained in those communities. And so really having a commitment to say, we want to become a part of the community. We want to, make sure that we're really affecting the lives of your employees and the community positively was something that a lot of employers, I think, really want and sort of need in a way. So yeah, those are just some of the strategies that have sort of worked for us. Any other questions? Seems like another one just came through, Scott.
Just looking at question here in terms of regional data. Yeah, we're looking at all the data sources that we have available to us, including Lightcast and what's available through ACE for sure. Not surprising that Thomas Edison has a similar approach and mindset, giving our history and trajectories together. So, probably more for us to even talk to one another about. Rachel, in terms of what this might look like moving forward. But yeah, thank you for joining us. Pleasure to share too. The one point you make, though, I think is important, right? Is our own gaps, right? I think the things that we do fully online, asynchronously for our students have had a profound impact on their lives and the world, and has really shifted our mindsets around where learning can occur and what we can do to support working adults. With that said, are there ways for us to continue to enhance on that, right? Technology is evolving, which allows synchronicity in ways that it wasn't before. In-person experiences bring social components to it, allows you to learn in real world context, right? So let's use the space around us. And again, we chose St. Petersburg for a reason, because the place matters. And we were going to use that as a juxtaposition against Albany, right? So you've got a growing population in St. Petersburg, however, facing real challenges due to climate change and the impact that's having on the region. So how do employers and businesses operate within that environment? And what does that look like relative to a city like Albany, which is had declining population for decades and is looking to build a new business infrastructure, knowing that it's fundamentally, as a capital city in New York, dependent upon hospitals, educational institutions, and government for its economy, and it can't necessarily live that way easily and grow. So, what does a business attraction look like? And so, our students will be able to experience and talk about skills that they're developing as executives within their organizations relative to place. So, we think these connecting systems in place are really, really important in understanding place and how it drives leadership decisions is important there too. So just some elements of that that we've been exploring.
We give one more minute to see if there's any final questions. And yeah, if not, I'll just say, thanks to anyone that attended today. If there's any other questions, feel free to reach out to me or Scott, obviously, anytime. And we'd be happy to follow up.
All right. Well, thanks again to our presenters and to everyone who attended. Just a quick reminder, this will be available right here on the same platform for 90 days as a replay. And again, if you could fill out the survey, we would appreciate your feedback. All right. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day.
Thanks all. Thanks, Carlo. Appreciate it.